Hey everybody, welcome. Can you believe we are on session 13? We're on the downhill part of the whole thing. By now, we've worked on a lot of different areas, and hopefully it's really helped you out, learn what's going on, how to get into the muscle groups. Today, everybody always asks me, well, can we learn the neck first? Can we learn the neck first and the neck and shoulders? And I always say we got to learn that a little bit later, because one of the problems is when neck and shoulders get really tight, that means that the rest of the body is out of alignment. And so once we put the body into alignment, then the neck and shoulders we're going to start learning today, for the sheer fact that right now, as you've been working and training and using the skills that you've been taught here, your hands should be a little bit stronger, because today is really all about, there's not a lot of elbows and knuckles and everything else. A lot of today is about fingers. And so I've already made sure that my nails are filed. But when you're working on people's necks and shoulders and you get into these areas that are really sensitive, you want to make sure that those nails are really filed down. You can use the knuckles a little bit on the neck, and I'm going to show you that today. But for the most part, what we're just going to be working on today is from about that AC joint up. So we're going to be doing a lot of the sternocleidomastoid, because that is what attaches to the back, as well as the trapezius muscle, splenius capitis, splenius cervicis. We're not going to go into a lot of the specific muscle groups, because it's kind of like the forearms. There's just so many intertwined in there that as I go and as I'm teaching, then we can then I'll explain what those muscles are. And if you have a question on that, grab your anatomy book and look at it, and you can figure out which muscles I'm getting. We're going to show you two different angles. My client right now is face down. I'm going to show you how to get into the neck muscles face down and kind of move the head. And then we'll actually turn her over, and I'll show you how to rotate the head and move it when she's face up. There is a couple of little different techniques on both sides, how to have the hands, how to have your fingers, how to move it. So it's not going to break your fingers, and it's going to be able to get in really quick and easy. So that's what's going on. These neck muscles, gosh, there's so many symptoms that it can be, from headaches, sinus pressure, fogginess. There's just there's so much to deal with the brain that it comes from the neck, from the muscles in the neck. And here's what I want to really emphasize to you guys, that the only bones that are really in the neck, everything else is muscle. Okay, it's just the spinal cord. That's it, that goes from the shoulders up and holds everything onto the head. That's the only bones in there besides the cartilaginous fibers of the esophagus and the hyoid. Like, that's it. Everything else is muscle on here. And so there's a lot of different muscles. They go different directions. I can't explain everything to you like that. You're going to have to figure it out, but I'm going to show you kind of how to get into that and how to split those muscle fibers. So it's going to be really fun. I'm excited for this. The neck has always been one of my favorites, and so we're going to do it. We're just going to get into it. All right, so one of the things that you really got to work on if you're going to be doing a lot of neck stuff, your other body, you can stand up, kneel down, move around, but when you're working on the neck specifically for a long period of time, you're going to want a chair, you're going to want something to sit in. It's just going to be a lot more comfortable for you, preferably a rolling chair, so you can just kind of move around and get to the angles that you need to. We've got a close-up camera that's going to really get a lot of these details. So I'll be talking here, but the close-up camera is really what we're going to be looking at. When it comes to the neck and finding the neck, because your neck muscles attach up into the head, but they also can attach down into the shoulders, there's two different ways that you can figure out if it's more neck or if it's more shoulder. The first way that I like to do it is I kind of hit that spot between the trapezius, and I'm going to talk, but it's this close-up picture that I want you guys to really pay attention to. So the trapezius muscle sits right in through here. You can actually see where that is curling. To get, what I love to do is I'll kind of pull that trapezius muscle up and kind of get in here into that levator scapula. Okay? Once I get into that levator scapula, you don't have to push hard, but there's two ways that I like to check it. If you move the head, so you can move the head and see which muscle moves. Okay, so As I'm moving the head, I can feel it pull, and then I can also move that shoulder down. Now, when I move the shoulder down, I'm not feeling that muscle pull or stretch out. But when I move the head, then I can feel that muscle move in and out. So what that means to me is that the shoulders is actually pretty loose, and so we're going to be dealing more with it's going to be muscles that are going up into the neck that we're going to need to be moving the head and rotating the head to get things to release rather than the shoulder moving up and down. Another way that you can test it is our knuckles are really, if we do the soft fist right in here, and if you can just kind of put your whole fist right on that levator scapula trap area. Now you don't have to push hard, and I'm still testing to see which ones we're going to do. You got to trap it to pull it in, but then you can see her shoulder moves down really nice, but her head gets stuck. And so just from me doing this, we actually have a generally good idea that majority of the shoulder and neck problems is going to be more up in the neck area. So let's just kind of show you how to release all that. On the neck, so what we've taught in the past is when you find that muscle, you want to move the rotate the head or rotate the foot or rotate the hip to get those muscles into alignment. On the neck, it's kind of the same thing, but different. And let me show you. What we got to do, so we know that there's muscles here that need to be tightened, but for the video I'm going to show you, is you've got to kind of come in, and then yourself, you've got to kind of move the muscles back and forth. Okay, the short video, the close-up video, you're going to be able to see this a lot more. You can't just go straight into the neck and then move the head around. You can do it when they're face up, but not when they're face down. So when they're face down, you've got to kind of find those knots, and then you've got to kind of move them down and move them up and move them down, move them up. Kind of, you've got to be the one to break the muscle fibers loose. Okay, so we just got into one of the muscle groups. You guys probably saw that flip. Sherry, I'm sure you felt that move right there. So once you're into that muscle where I am right now, and it doesn't take much to get into it if you just kind of move. So I was just kind of moving up and down and moving and wiggling it in. So it's kind of like a worm, up and down, but I'm still putting pressure in there. I'm still on a 45-degree angle. I'm still separating the muscles, but now when I get into this part here, I just make sure, okay, yeah, we don't have shoulder. It's going to be more of the head. Now on this, you want to make sure that you don't squish your client's head into the face rest. So what you want to do is you're going to want to just take their head, and it's okay to kind of move it and to lift them up out of the face rest and then rotate it back down. And what you're going to do is it's going to get to a different point. Then you bring your hand the other way and you push their head into your fingers. And as that goes into your fingers, that's what's going to give that pressure on their neck. And then we rotate again. It's the same thing. I've got the same pressure. And what you're going to really feel is when you bring their head towards you. And that's when it's going to actually pop, is when you bring their head towards you. How's that pressure right now? Do you feel that kind of just ease off? So what you're doing is you're stretching it out, putting it into alignment, and then you're bringing that back to you, and that's when it releases. Now, after it releases on the neck in this direction, don't ease off of the pressure here. You're going to want to keep going to find the deeper knot. And there's that one right there. You do the same thing. I like to check. Okay, so as I push this down, I could feel that muscle separate a little bit more, which is fine. And then I'm going to go to the head. Okay, Sherry, feel how your head just won't move at all? So it's tugging from the shoulder, but the shoulder still moves. But where I'm not getting any movement is with that head. And that's fine. You don't want it, you want to kind of stretch it a little bit, but there's no movement. So all you're going to do is, to save your hands and your fingers, you want to bring their head towards you. Their head is going to go towards you. All right? And then once you do that a couple of times, then all of a sudden, you'll be able to get that stretch. There she goes. So just drop me in. Bam. I just kind of rotate it back and forth, getting a lot more stretch there. And what muscle I'm on right now is the splenius cervicis. The one I released before was the splenius capitis. Ah, there's my alarm. And then you just kind of keep rolling back and forth. There it goes. Now, she opens up that way and has full range of motion that way. Feel that difference in there? Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, if you want to stay here, once you get a couple of the knots to let go, the neck just really basically relaxes. Then you can kind of look down here at the shoulder, and there's no tension at all on that shoulder. And so you want to make sure that you slowly come out, and then we can definitely tell a difference between when we first started. You could tell that the trap and all these muscles were bunched up. Now you can actually see the sternocleidomastoid poking out. The sternocleidomastoid attaches to, along with the levator scapula, right up into here. The trapezius goes over the top of that. Now we can release the sternocleidomastoid from the back side as well. And that's kind of the same thing. Hers is really prominent, so we're like, hey, I don't have to go find it. It's just right there. But in order to do that, you kind of do the same thing. You got to get that, you got to push right underneath, right there. Okay, we found that. Now this one right here, for people who have headaches on the, they're going to kind of be, your headaches are going to be kind of more on the outside lobes here, all right? That's generally going to be the sternocleidomastoid. And so I'm going to curl my fingers like this for you guys, but you should be kind of coming at this angle. So we're here, and on this one, you're actually going to kind of do a little cross fiber movement to split those muscles up, because as it goes up into the head, it kind of twists. So you're going to kind of move it up and down. Like I said, this is a lot of finger work. So you've got to strengthen your hands on it. There it goes. So just drop me in. Once it drops you in on it, then you can do the same thing. Move it away from you to stretch it out. And then when you bring it towards you, you keep your hand firm. There we go. Like I said, most of the time I'd be here, but I'm just showing you how to get it like that. Gotcha. There we go. Ha, 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 ha. So now as you notice, that's not as prominent. It actually feels really soft now. That's very cool. And then you just kind of check it out, and if you want to stretch it a little bit, and my clients really appreciate this, I'll just push their shoulder down, and we can just really have a good stretch like that. And that's great. I'll actually do this. So if I've worked the rhomboids, the lat muscles, if we've dropped the whole shoulder down, I won't have my clients get up and turn over to work on the neck. I'll actually kind of just work on the back side, on the neck right then. And then once I've got this taken care of, that's when I slide them down and turn them over. I have had in the past where I've really worked the shoulder area and I haven't worked the neck, and I've had them get up and turn over and the neck part is cramped. So that's one thing that I've really tried to really do, is if I'm working the shoulder like I just said, and we get that all fixed and we can drop it down, I will go up and I will do that work right in here, because those shoulder muscles are what's attached to the neck. I don't want them moving until I feel confident that I've gotten a majority of those shoulders to go down and release that tension in the neck. And so now what we're going to have Sherry do is we're going to have her just slide down and flip on over. So we've turned her over, and it's really interesting because as she turned over, her right side did tighten up a little bit and came up off the table, and her left side stayed down below you. I'm sure you guys can see that in the camera angle. There's a couple of different ways to get into the neck. Now, this is going to be really interesting. We're really going to do our best to edit this the way that you guys can all get it, because this is really an important and crucial step. We do have our medium range and our very close-up, so I think this is going to really be good for you guys to understand. There's a couple of different things that I will do. Is first, if I'm working on any of the neck, I'll just sit there and kind of palpate. I will just kind of feel to see what's going on. Now, we did our left side already, and it feels fantastic, nice and loose. On the right side, we can feel some of that same splenius, capitis, and cervicis muscles, trapezius, all of that right in there. Depending on where their symptoms are, if they come to you for migraines and stuff, the migraines are going to be where you're going to want to kind of to work at is from about here up. All right, if they just have neck issues where they're like, hey, I woke up, this morning and I have a stiff neck and I can't move, your stiff neck and everything's going to be right around here. So migraines are right here, stiff necks are right in here, and then shoulder and neck issues are kind of coming down to where the scalings, the traps, and everything meet into the shoulder itself. So I'm going to show you how I love to get into the muscle groups. Now, if you find a knot and you just try to push it, their head kind of flops all over the place. So what I'll do is I'll actually turn their head the opposite way, and I'm going to hold their forehead so that when I push on the muscle, if you guys have ever done CPR, when you push on the neck, everything goes into alignment on the airway. But what we need is we need to have that pressure. So by just some gentle force on holding that head, it keeps it from tipping the chin completely up. And then you're going to want to stretch it out just like normal. And this is where kind of the magic comes, is you hold that and you roll their head back in towards your finger. And what that's going to do, there we go, is it's going to create that pressure that you need. And then from there, all you got to do is roll it back and forth just the way you would. There we go. And that's going to help clear up like tension, headaches, sinus pressure, kind of some ringing in the ears every once in a while, or right in here. If they just feel like their ears are plugged, this is a great place. And like I said, you just roll it back and forth. Now on this, and this is what I was going to tell you guys, as you're rolling it, there it goes, back and forth, you're not going to feel, you're going to almost feel the muscles separate sideways instead of lengthwise. That's how they do it in the neck. All right, that's how they release in the neck. They'll actually separate. And that's because of how they twist over the top of each other. So if they're twisted this way, the knots aren't going to release this way. The knots are actually going to release by them separating. So then we just kind of keep getting it. Now if you guys notice, this can be a little bit difficult too, and it works this way. So, but my most favorite way is to actually use, so if I'm going to be working on the right side, I will actually use my left hand. Okay, you guys see that? I love, if I'm working on the right, so if I'm working on the left side, I'll use my right hand. If I'm working on the right side, I love using my left hand. Now how this works is it's still the same way. You can get a little bit more leverage like that. So if you have to get more to the front of the neck, you just turn the neck towards you, put the pressure where you need it, and then you can roll it in and out. This is how I prefer to work on the neck. is this way. Because then you can really just kind of squeeze that neck. And then roll it, pop, there we go. Bam. Yay. Now I want you guys to notice, okay, this wide view. Since working on that neck, that shoulder has dropped down. Before, when we first started, it was sitting like that. Could you tell that difference? Mm-hmm. And now it's back down. So that's how tight, and that's how the body does. The body will twist a lot. Okay, and the other way to get to the occipital ridge or the suboccipital muscles is the same way. I know that a lot of people are taught to kind of go this way. The problem is you've got to have the pressure forced down onto it. You have to use a lot more fingers. So by doing it this way, and I'm going to actually stretch her neck out and show you how my fingers are, but a lot of times I'll actually do this way. It's like, and I don't play guitar, but it's like kind of how you would, if you were playing guitar, that's how you have your fingers. I tried to play guitar, didn't work, my fingers were too stubby. Okay, so we found it, it dropped me in. Now does that radiate anywhere? Sherry, does that go up to your head? Mm-hmm. Point to where you feel it. Right in through there. Mm-hmm. Okay. And that's a lot of times where people will get migraines. And let me tell you, if you can fix one person's headache or migraine, you'll have a whole lot of people calling you. In fact, speaking of this is really what started really getting my profession going, is when people had migraines, they would come in. And so then people come in, they're like, well, I have migraines. And I'd be like, oh, great, well, let's get them fixed. And then it kind of started going to, well, what about my knees and what about feet and everything else? People that have headaches, any sort of tension from the shoulders up, that's what their main focus is. They want to get so much out of pain that the rest of their body doesn't know what's going on. And so this is really crucial. It's really important to get this. So, and if you have any questions on this, please feel free to email and ask and fill out the survey. All right, now on this, I'm just rocking. There it is. Now that one just jumped and it just shot clear down into there, which what I've got then and what just released is the levator scapula. But now I can have that same pressure and she's got all sorts of range of motion. Oh, chin meet shoulder. Look, shoulder meet chin. Congratulations.
We broke up a long time.
I know, yeah. And you can just see how nice and loose that neck is. There's going to be times that you are going to have to kind of work the occipital ridge. You know, if you have to really work it, you push the chin down to stretch it out. You find it, and then you can bring it back onto it. And I just like to say, you know, oh, look, you can say yes now to a lot more things rather than say no. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to show you, I'm not exactly sure how we're going to do this, but on this one, so if somebody comes into you with a migraine, where am I at? I'm on this one. When somebody comes into you with a migraine, I'm going to show you how to really get some relief really quick. It hurts them really bad, but you can kind of get a migraine to settle down in about 30 seconds to a minute, okay? So I'm going to show you right here where the levator scapula is hit, both side, all right, there's a little gap in between, right in here. And you'll feel it, all right? You take your two, or you can take, there's three muscles, your fingers like this, and you're going to put them right where that hairline is. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do here. you're going to lift their head, and you're going to find right where it's at. All right? And then you're going to have your hand drop down, and notice how it curls up, kind of like you're doing CPR. All right? This is CPR for the brain. And what you're going to do is you're going to push that forehead more back onto your thumbs and fingers, but then you're going to lift it, the chin, to the chest. Okay, did you feel that? Mm-hmm. Sherry, just kind of pop that way. Yeah. There you go. Now, she didn't have a migraine. Did you have a headache at all?
Nope.
Okay, she didn't have a headache or anything. But what happened is you saw what I did was we bend it back to open it up, which dropped me in on both sides of the muscles. And then as I brought her chin back to her chest, there, you guys will see that as I dropped it, as her chin went forward, it sunk back down. So when we did this, it dropped me in, and then as it came to the neck, it sunk in. And right there in that moment when it sinks in, that's when those muscles separate, and that will start the draining process of the migraine. So now you can't do this and move their head at the same time, it just hurts. So if they can't turn their head back and forth or up and down, you've got to do kind of one side at a time. But to get rid of a migraine or something like that, you're just going to want to push right there, drop their head back, and at our training sessions we can get even more in depth in this because this is really good to know. So, yeah. And then the last thing I'm going to show you guys right now is how to release the sternocleidomastoid, which is this one. How I like to do it is I'll bend kind of their ear to their shoulder, really exposing the sternocleidomastoid, and then you kind of have to just grab it. You got to make sure you get everything, and then all you do is you just roll it out. You can feel me flipping on that. Right. Oops. So all you're doing, there we go. There we go. So you're just pinching it and kind of rolling it, pinch it and roll it to the outside. So it's going to pinch and roll. You're going to pinch and roll it. I haven't really found a lot with the sternocleidomastoid unless it's attached and locked up with the levator scapula and the trapezius. And when that happens, that's when things get really tight, and that's when this really pronounces. And hers is actually pretty good, so we're not even going to worry about that. And then you just kind of sit there and move it, see how that feels. Okay, Sherry, go ahead and go chin to shoulder for me, both sides. Then I'll have to say, go ahead and lift your chin to your chest, turn it both sides. How does that feel?
Really good.
Good. I'll just kind of palpate around, make sure we haven't missed anything. Okay. And then I like just giving a little tug on it, a little stretch out. That's good. Like I said, you can also stretch them out just to make sure. Because what happens, here's a little trick. I'm glad I just remembered this. What happens sometimes is I like to stretch it out this way because once the neck is released and it feels really good, what will happen is sometimes they'll sit up and then gravity takes over and they drop their shoulders down and you can actually have some of those muscles cramp on you again. So one thing to remember is just to kind of push those shoulders down, stretch them out, so when they sit up by themselves, things don't cramp. Okay, good luck. Love you guys. To your success.